And on guys and girls, how are you doing today? It's Single Roleplay here once again. Today I want to present you the overview of the patch 3.7, just like I previously did for the 3.6, but this time patch is pretty damn massive. It's over 20 pages of condensed text, and holy shit guys, there's a lot of things there to look for. First of all, there's a legend for you to follow, and I will provide the link to the actual file in the description, of course. So in yellow there's new and important and rework things, in red there's nerfs, and green there are buffs, but not the great buffs, just buffs, this or that. And purple there are giant buffs of very important things which I wanted to specifically emphasize as important. So let's take a look. First of all, there are many new skill gems introduced. Some of them had been reworked, but there's plenty of new gems out there guys. There's a lot of movement skill gems like the dash, and there's also damage dealers and damage reduction. There's steel skin, blade storm. There's also blood and sand thing around the gladiator theme. There's also a berserk, which is mostly, berserker, a skill gem which consumes your rate and accelerating rating grants more damage. There's also a new skill gem called Frost Blink, which acts pretty much like the cold version of the lightning warp. Also a new interesting aura called Precision, and Precision was previously available as a self-cast skill given by the Hero's Truth amulet, and now it is actually an aura. And Hero's Truth now reduces the reservation of this new aura by 50%, which is also a pretty big deal. I wanted to emphasize this. Casts an aura that reserves a portion of your mana and grants you nearby allies accuracy, and increased critical strike chance. This is pretty damn good. There's also plenty of things to look there for, and this is all mostly new, but I wanted to emphasize a few for them too. Another skill gem is called Pride. Casts an aura that reserves a portion of your mana and causes nearby enemies to take more physical damage, increasing the damage they take the longer they're affected by the aura. It's pretty much like an advanced version of the Punishment Curse, also pretty interesting. Another interesting thing is Rage. New support gem supports melee attacks, causing you to gain 1 rage when you hit an enemy with supported skill, with a short exclusion time on rage gain from the support. So pretty much it's like a berserk and a skill gem, and can be used by pretty much any class out there. Pretty interesting as well. There's also 12 new unique items and 40 new divination cards, as well as plenty of keystones and passive skills has been reworked, and the rework on the passive skill tree is massive. I'm not even sure guys, I'm going to be overlooking this. I will just very briefly tell you what happened there. So first of all, we can now queue skills. By using one skill while another skill is in progress, this skill will be used immediately after the current skill has finished. This is interesting. I want to see just how it will be implemented in the game. It looks pretty good on paper, but how exactly will it be used in the actual combat, time will tell. So one thing that I want to tell about the melee rebalance overall, pretty much any melee skill in the game got a flat added damage to it, as well as the attack speed has been reduced, as well as the base damage of the skill has been increased. By reducing the attack speed on pretty much any skill, they decided to counteract the increase. Let's say, since we can interrupt a skill with movement or movement skill, and basically we now hit more reliably more often, and this is counteracted by the reduction of the attack speed on pretty much any skill gem out there. So do not be surprised when we see literally everywhere attack speed has been reduced by about 20 to 30% even. Every attack now can hit multiple targets by default. This is a big change, assuming that you can swing, something, and obviously if there's 3 enemies ahead of you, you will be swinging all the 3 and not just one of them, predetermined by the game. This is a valid change, and I really can't wait to test it out in the game. Another thing, accuracy is no longer capped at 95 chance to hit, and with enough accuracy you can go over a 95 and cap it at 100, and have a 100% chance to hit enemies, and their evasion will not help them. At the same time, enemies with shields can now block attacks, but will only prevent a large portion of the incoming damage rather than all of it. So I'm really curious if this will affect the Grandmasters, because you know they can be pretty damn tanky guys that with like cap block, and were literally impossible to kill them without some damage over time. So they literally blocked everything. Since they are not entirely enemies, they're more like a living exiles, so I'm really curious if it will affect the balance of the whole of the Grandmasters. Melee damage is now treated at having 25% plus damage for the sake of calculating stunts. Alright, your chance to hit enemies with an attack is no longer capped at 95. With enough accuracy, you can guarantee that every attack will hit. In general, it just will be easier to hit and be hit at the same time. Another interesting thing is the effects of the splitting incoming damage across mana and life, such as the Mind of the Council. And now it also splits the damage between the damage over time and hits, and previously it only splitted the damage from hits. And damage over time literally did all the 100% of damage. So I think it will be easier to reduce the damage over time now. Another big change is unarmed attack range of player characters has increased by 2. So unarmed war chief or whatever the cyclone says hello. I think it will be really interesting to play unarmed builds right now. Projectiles are now treated as having a smaller collision, and they should alleviate the frustration of casting freezing pulse through the doorway. We've already seen this presented within the videos. Basically, when you cast freezing pulse, it kind of makes it through the door and kills like frostbolt and pretty much everything. It was pretty frustrating to cast these things in doorways and dungeons, and now it really helps this. Alright, skill reworks. So starting with the Cyclone is now a channeling skill, costs 2 mana from 12. This is an absolutely insane change. It is literally free to cast now. Also, the damage has been pretty much unchanged through the base, but adds a flat fizz now to attacks, and a pretty decent amount of flat fizz at level 20. Now gains stages as a channeled up to maximum 3, and gains and each stage give you +1 to melee range. So what does it change, guys? First of all, the basic at level 20, there is like +3 melee range, I believe, +3 or 4. So now you get less so now you get less range at the start, but then you get more range at the end. This is how it works. It's all balanced out. Now has an attack speed multiplier of 300 instead of 50% more attack speed. So it's really is about 2 times more attack speed. That's insane, guys. It's insane. Lacerate has been buffed across the board. Immortal Call no longer makes immune to physical damage for a duration. I think I would thought I would be emphasizing this thing as well, because this is pretty different. And overall, this things like Immortal Call and Mold Shell had been completely reworked. They are not doing things as they previously did. So you need to just read this quite deeply, because there's a lot of things to go from. Shield charge is very interesting now. The most important thing is that it actually can be used with wands now, and this is an absolutely big thing. And here I am saying goodbye to the good Flame Dash. I fucking hated Flame Dash, so I will not miss Flame Dash. Now I can finally shield charge with anything. Another thing is it deals less damage, but now it actually gives you increased attack speed, increased movement speed per quality instead of the damage. So it actually is a bit of a buff to non-DPS builds who literally use shield charge just for the sake of mobility and not for the sake of dealing damage. It is also a complete rework because it now deals damage based on your equipped shield and not your weapon. And it's practically just something like Spectral Shield Throw. It's very interesting, guys, and this is also, I'm really curious like how much damage you can do now with a shield charge. You know, shield charging character was a big a big dream of mine for a while, and with this change, probably with some insane shield, I can actually turn shield charge into some damage, and I can't wait to try it out. This is one of my dream builds out there. So there's also a bit of changes to the physical. Physical is now a skill type and will now appear in the appropriate gems as tag. There's also strike skill type now, and there's also blink skill type now, which will appear on the frost, blink, flame dash, and dash. There's also all melee skills now have an attack speed multiplier bit in the gem. This is pretty much just to make things clearer, you know, to reduce things that are in the shadows and unknown, and to make it clearer for everyone to understand by tagging the new skills and by tagging the old skills so they can be aligned all together. That's about it. So that's what we've been talking about the reduced attack speed everywhere. Quite a few melee skills have had the base attack speed lowered slightly and the base damage raised. This is due to the increase in the effective clear speed from the introduction of animation cancelling, whereby you can start moving to the next pack of monsters before your attack would otherwise have ended. That's about it, guys. Everywhere attack speed has been lowered, but the base damage has been raised. So Ancestral Protector buffed, Ancestral Watcher buffed. Bane, unfortunately this is the first big nerf here. The base damage went down by about 30%. Honestly, and by about 10% in the end, but at the start it is pretty much a lot less. I do not understand why they did this. I will explain myself. First of all, Bane is not really a boss killer, it's just an additional layer of damage on top of your essence drain or the soul rend. I didn't really see any importance in nerfing Bane, simply because it's not really insanity of any kind, guys. It's definitely a popular skill, it's fantastic skill, so please don't fucking kill a skill that is actually somewhat useful and good grinding in games. So please don't do this, don't kill Bane. Blade Flurry has been changed actually. It got a little nerf over there on the damage effectiveness, but now adds a flat fist, so I would say it's a bit of a rework here and there, but nothing crazy. Cleave has been buffed pretty nicely guys, pretty nicely, a little bit. Charge Dash also a little buff. Consecrated buff, now I would say that Consecrated buff been buffed by around 25%, that's a good thing. Dominating Blow just a buff. A Double Strike a buff, and now has a 25% chance to cause bleeding. Dual Strike has been substantially reworked actually. Esgen got an absolutely insane amount of damage in it, and also has a crazy amount of crit strike chance. I'm literally interested in playing Dual Strike because they have put a lot of work into this. This is pretty interesting, guys. Earthquake got a buff. Flicker Strike has also got a crazy amount of rework, guys, and he also has an innate chance to gain a frenzy charge on hit on all levels, as well as grants a buff that provides 20% increased movement speed for 3 seconds and a 0.25 chance to gain a frenzy charge on hit per gem quality. Holy fucking shit, guys. And no wonder people were doing Flicker Strike mammoths for the whole weeks before the leak. This is it. Flicker Strike. Frenzy got buffed too. More attack damage per frenzy charge previously was increased, and more attack speed per frenzy charge previously was increased. Holy fucking shit, guys. Frenzy is great. Frost Blades, another buff, now adds flat cold as well as gain increased damage and projectile speed instead of just projectile damage. Glacial Hammer, +2 to melee range. The range has been buffed as well as damage across the board, and have a pretty solid amount chance to freeze 200% more damage. That's insane. Glacial Hammer is actually pretty juicy now. Ground Slam, another buff. Heavy Strike, pretty insane buff, also got +2 melee range and +4 at 20, as well as 20% chance to deal double damage at all gem levels. Holy shit, it's a buff. Herald of Agony, guys, nerfed. The nerf is pretty big. I would say it's about 30%. It's about 30% shittier now. So it's not entirely dead, just you know, back to where it should be belong, to the, you know, back to normal, I would say. It's not entirely dead, it's still dead, just back to normal, I would say. It's not crazy. Ice Crash, buffs everywhere. Infernal Blow, buffs. A Lancing Steel now deals base damage equal to and has a damage effectiveness of 130. Literally doubled the effectiveness, guys. Literally doubled the effectiveness on Lancing Steel. I really can't wait to see if people will start playing this, because this is not very popular. Leap Slam. Always knocks backs enemy on a hit, always causes you damages hits to stun enemies. Also pretty damn interesting. The mana cost has also been reduced by 30%. Lightning Strike. Personally, I've been looking to the Lightning Strike, but unfortunately didn't change that much. Just a little bit of lightning as well as a bit of increased damage, but nothing crazy. Molten Strike has also been destroyed by the nerf hammer, and the biggest nerf here is not even the damage, but this. Now requires you to hit an enemy in order to produce projectiles, and splits the number of projectiles it provides evenly among all targets if it can. So what does this mean, guys? Literally now you can't hit thin air, and you can't really machine gun projectiles from behind. You can't just stand in the corner and hit air, you know, and do damage. Now you actually need to be pretty close to the target, actually hit it, and then the projectiles will come out. This is it. You can't really spam into nothing and get projectiles. This is a pretty damn nerf, and I'm super happy that I sold my Molten Strike helm for 20x now, and I'm super happy for this. Even though it got, you know, range now, I think it's pretty shit now, and I don't know. I think it was hit pretty hard, honestly. Puncture literally increased by about like 25-30%. Another big buff. Reeve has also been buffed, but unfortunately the range has been nerfed. Now gains +2 radius at gem level 20 from 4, so a little less radius, but the damage has been increased as well. Reckoning buff. Who the fuck plays Reckoning as well as Riposte? This shit is useless. Shattering Steel buff. Shock Nova buff. The ring now deals 40% less damage from 80. I'm fucking surprised they keep buffing my Shock Nova Elementalist build. God, guys, that's crazy. Smite. Big buff. Look at this. Big fucking buff. Smite. Almost like 35 to 40% more damage. That's actually a lot. And the radius has been slightly reduced, but the base skill radius is not 2 units larger, so the base radius is better, but the higher tier base radius was reduced, so overall it equals out. Soren projectile now has a radius of 10 from 13. Another unreasonable nerf. I mean, what's the point of this, guys? I just don't fucking understand. What's the point of this? Spectral Shield Throw. I've been literally looking into this, guys, because really looking into Spectral Shield Throw. It's one of my favorite shitty skill gems. The base damage has been increased by about 30% overall. Now fires more projectiles on shield impact as the skills level up to 13 at gem level 20. Holy fucking shit. Also good. The base attack time has been slightly reduced, which wait a minute. It actually been increased down to 0.7. The base attack and time. I think it's a nerf. So it takes more time to attack, right? If I understand correctly. Alright, Spectral Throw, another buff. Static Strike, buff. Stormbrand has got a nerf as well. The cast time has been increased, the activation has been increased, but the biggest thing is this. Multiple Stormbrands can no longer shotgun enemies with their overlapping areas of effect. So But the base damage of the Stormbrand has actually been increased, guys. So what it does is the single Stormbrand actually does more damage, but if you get more of them, they can't machine gun anymore, and basically the more you have, the shittier they become. So as a single target, Stormbrand actually got better. Sunder got a substantial buff, by the way, by around 25%. And also the length of the Sunder hit has been increased by about 20% too. So the Sunder boys might be back in town. Now another crazy buff is the sweep deals literally twice more damage, guys. And I'm really looking forward to see what Alkaiser will be playing in the 3.7. Since Molten Strike is kinda ripped, I think he might be back on sweep, guys. Really. Tectonic Slam, another buff, actually pretty intense, about 30 to 40% buff, which is very nice. The length of the primary fissure is now 36%, so your single head has been buffed, but unfortunately the secondary fissures is now a less area, less length, and they really try to fix that giant hit area of effect of the Tectonic Slam, and when the patch hits, I'm really curious to see what kind of effect it does. Vengeance also literally tripled, but I think that will not have Vengeance, honestly. Vigilant Strike also literally has been increased by like 25 to 50 to 30%. Another big buff, also got the middle range. Viper Strike actually has been a little nerfed, but now it can burst 50 of Fist to the Chaos, so it balances out. So this nerf has been counted by the buff from double dipping on a Fist to Chaos. It's pretty much it. It also gives increased attack speed and increased poison duration now. Previously it was just attack speed, so if you want to get poison duration with your assassin, Viper Strike is still there. War Banner now grants you nearby allies increased 15% increased accuracy from 40, so it's a fucking big nerf. Honestly surprised on this. I'm not so sure that War Banner is really I mean, it was used. I've seen that people are using War Banner, but is it really well worth the nerfing? I mean, banners are not entirely super popular. Alright, probably another biggest nerf so far is the Warlord's Mark, guys. This is absolutely silly. Warlord's Mark has been used very often on spellcasters. Literally, if you're a spellcaster, you have very few sources to gain your mana back, and on spammy skills like the Shock Nova, Freezing Pulse, Warlord's Mark is pretty much mandatory. But with this, unfortunately, Warlord's Mark only applies the leech to the attacks and not to the spells, and it practically makes Warlord's Mark useless for any spells out there, and I need to find another way how I can counteract the problem. Whirling Blades, another buff. Wild Strike, another buff. Winter Orb actually has been guarded pretty heavily, and I explain why. First of all, it deals more damage now, actually. It deals more damage now, and slightly more damage in the end, but now has 20% reduced target acquisition range, so literally it hits the range at which Winter Orb now fires the enemy to off-screen. So 20% less now, 20% less. It doesn't kill off-screen now. And this is probably the biggest thing. Now fires projectiles every 1.2 seconds from every 0.8. So literally, it fires projectiles twice less often. And look at this. Now has 100% more projectile frequency while channeling. So basically, you actually need to channel now to get back to this projectiles rate that it previously were. You actually need to channel now, not just, press for 1 second and run around and kill the whole screen. Now you need to work for your Winter Orb. The damage is still there, but you actually need to channel now. This is a big change, guys. Val skills. Pretty much they all has been reworked and got buffs. Nothing spectacular here. It's even boring to to talk about Val skills, but the Val Molten Shell has gone 4-second cooldown down from 1, so I believe it's a big change for the Val Molten Shell. Other side than that is mostly just buffs. So Melee Splash. Melee Splash has also been kind of a weird a buff and a nerf as well. Now creates a melee splash for each enemy hit, meaning if your strike attack has hit multiple targets, they can also each hit other with other overlapping splashes. So practically kind of melee splash now overlaps, but at the same time it deals a little more or less damage with the splash at gem level 1 up to 41 less at gem level 20. So the damage got less, but it now overlaps. That's about it. The biggest important thing for me now is I want to see just I want to see if it's still good for the zombies and the SRS. This is my biggest question for now. How does it affect the SRS and the zombies? The rest, for the single target, I don't fucking care about this for the melee skills, but SRS and zombies, I'm interested. Multi-strike, another big reward, guys. So first of all, melee attack speed multiplier has been literally wrecked into like 3 times less, but it now causes the first repeat of supported skill to deal 40% more, and the second repeat is 80% more. So literally at level 20, the second repeat has literally double damage. So it kind of worked out, but it does a lot it looks a lot like some kind of Ruthless now, and honestly it will be an interesting choice between multi-strike and Ruthless now at this point. Another balance is Fortify. Like I said, Fortify has been reworked dramatically. Now duration has been increased, but the most important thing is 20% more melee fist damage, up to 34 more gem at level 20 from the increased damage, so that's the multiplier. And supported skills now do 20% more damage with bleeding and poison caused by melee hits at gem level 1. So not only it gives a multiplier for the melee damage fizz, as well as gives more multiplier for the bleeding. So if you're running a bleed physical character, I think that Fortify really is not a bad choice at all, guys, at all. Infused channeling no longer implicitly provides a reduction to fizz damage taken, will only provide such a reduction while channeling a skill with a physical gem tag. So not with any skill tag, just with a physical. That's about it. Lesser poison buffed, Mirage Archer also slightly reworked. Poison support and Ruthless support have all been buffed. Now we're moving on to the passive tree balance. I can tell you why. I can tell you guys that I already did a couple of Ascendancy changes overview, so if you've watched my videos, they're like not very short, you can go in depth on every video, because I already did this. I only stop on the most important things over there. First of all, Occultist Wicked Ward has been completely removed. It is moved into the actual passive tree. Vile Bastion his now regenerates only up to 10% from a maximum of 30, no longer grants a flat 150 max ES. Absolutely terrible, guys. Occultist is not a tank anymore. I don't know why they did this to the Occultist. I don't know why they fucking did this. Another nerf. Elementalist Beacon of Ruin slightly nerfed. First of all, the proliferation is not there. And the shocks only increase the damage by 15% from 20. Another nerf. Elementalist is not really dead. It's still there, but it took a hit. Guardian slightly nerfed on the energy shield nodes. Trickster quite possibly got the biggest hit actually among the three, along with the Occultist. First of all, now causes you to gain a Ghost Shroud every 2 seconds from 1. So literally it is much longer to get your Ghost Shrouds now. First of all, it gives you 10% chance to dodge down from 20. And the attack speed and cast speed per Ghost Shroud is also being reduced by 50% to 6 down from 12. This is a lot, guys. This is a lot. Trickster and Occultist like literally were hit the most. Another thing that I didn't personally understand is this: Fast and Deadly now grants 50% more accuracy rating, previously double accuracy rating. I don't understand it because, you know, 50% more is is not double. Double is 100%, right? So 50% more is actually a nerf, and I don't understand why. There were not very many Deadeyes out there. Another thing, item balance. Many of low-level melee weapon base types have had their base attack speed raised and their damage lowered to compensate. Alright. Orb of the Horizons now drops from everywhere. Adjusted the drop rates of certain items, which were many hunters. So we are talking about Headhunter, Eternity Shroud, Solstice Vigil, and God knows what more. The Dense Fossil can no longer be crafted with the Energy Shield Suffix, guys. Dense Fossil have been fucked, and I think it also affects the existing items in a way. Pirandus Scarabs can now cause Kadira Pirandus to appear more. Now we go to the probably the biggest item nerfs existing in the 3.7. The values of life, mana, and energy shield modifiers on the Abyssal jewels have been reduced, and the top tiers made rarer relative to lower tiers. The top roll for these modifiers is now 40, down from 50. Divining existing jewels will of course update them, and added damage of all types in Abyssal jewels has also been lowered by about 30%. Holy shit! Holy shit! This is really hard, and it really hurts all kind of science there. But it unfortunately, it not only hurts the science, but it also hurts now the most sober classes out there, like the poor shitty summoners would literally rely on the jewels, as well as the golem mentalists and all of the shit. Seriously, guys, I don't know. I think it's good for some classes which were overpowered. Like we've had, if you're swimming in currency, you can build an insane Scion. But for the other classes, it really hurts. It really fucking hurts, guys. It really hurts. This looks like a big buff to the two-handers. The added damage, all added damage modifiers on the two-handed weapons are now 160% of the values of their one-handed counterparts. This takes the new higher values at the top end into account, even they are 160 of the one-handed versions. I don't really understand exactly how much of an impact of this, but it looks like a two-handers actually be more viable than before. Overall, this is also a pretty interesting nerf. Reduce the amount of energy shield granted by synthesizing Pleasant body armors. Of course, well, no one will be fucking using the blessed orbs and the synthesized shit. People will be sitting on this forever. People are sitting on this forever. Alright. A Cleave gem has also been slightly nerfed. No longer grants increased area of effect for Cleave based on the number of nearby enemies, but now grants +1 to Cleave's radius for each nearby enemy up to 10. This jewel is now limited to 1. So Cleave is only 1 now. Like I said, Hero's Truth was the amulet that used precision, and now this item causes precision to have 50% less mana reservation, affects all versions of the item. This is a good thing. I'm really curious to see how much precision will give to the minions. Now, overall, these are changes to the items over there. Pretty much everything has been buffed except for the Impulsor. It has now increased shock effect. It was about 45, I believe, and now it is only up to 25. So they has actually been nerfed. Another things that were nerfed slightly is Brightbeak, Dreadbeak, Hegemony, Zero, and Disintegrator have been slightly reduced their added physical damage. I specifically checked this shit and they were nerfed. I don't know why. Probably because they have like base attack modifiers increased, or the base stats on them increased, or basically the base stats were better probably now. So these items were actually nerfed. There is a certain amount of Legion-themed uniques as well, guys, that will be introduced in the league, and they mostly been dramatically buffed across the league. And there are items like Marohi Erki, which also has slightly increased physical damage, but also has the pulverized support skill gem on this. I'm really curious to see what is this, what it does, and how exactly Marohi will be used there. There's also a lot of buffs to the items like the Ascendancy, Gentle Touch, like Divinarius, Honor Home, Book of the Val. It literally had been tripled. A lot of cool items up there. Now changes to the monsters, so we're about to an end here, and the patch notes. Magic monsters now have 50% more life at level 1, 75% more at level 68 and above, but they also give more experience, as well as the rare mobs. Incursion changes. 12 separate incursions to enter the Temple of Abyssal. Why did this require a change? I don't know. Betrayal changes. Betrayal fortification encounters now are prioritized over shrines during level creations, meaning you should more reliably get the betrayal encounters you are expecting. Alright. You now can unlock a special 5th slot on the map device. I'm really curious to see when this happens. Another interesting change. You no longer pay Val Orbs equal to the cost of the Chaos Orbs to apply Xana's crafting modifiers to corrupt maps. Really nice. The entirety of the Covos trial map has been redone. If you're lucky enough to get one, make sure you use it. I'm really looking forward to this. They also improved the boss fights in many maps like the Belfry, Lava Lake. I specifically highlighted this one because the rest is mostly the same shit. Like Sunken City, Graveyard. A lot of maps have been reworked there. That's pretty much it, guys. It has been a very fucking lengthy patch. Now that's all 20 pages, and actually been reading this for about 2 hours, and I'm not even sure you'll be watching this till the end, but if you do, thank you very much. It's been an enormous amount of work to highlight all this shit, so keep an eye on this file. It potentially might be useful to look through and use for your build guides and whatever, make decisions. Once again, press thumb up, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content. I will be updating a lot of build guides prior to 3.7 and after the patch, so keep an eye on the content, guys. Thanks for watching, and see you soon. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for watching the video. Your likes and dislikes, especially, as they push me forward even more. If you want to see more content, please consider subscribing to the channel. I do daily uploads of role-playing content, being it builds, guides, let's play, stream highlights, and upcoming RPG games. Also, don't forget to follow my Twitch stream to catch me live in action. I do stream daily on working days. I'm a full-time YouTube content creator and a Twitch streamer too, so if you want to support me, you can do it either from Twitch or by PayPal directly from my website angryroleplayer.com. Join my Discord channel too for a place to discuss RPG things offline, as well as follow my Twitter to be notified on any new content. If you want to get extra information like sneak peeks into upcoming videos, plans, different behind-the-scenes footage, you can also join an Unholy Army on Patreon as well, guys. Thank you very much once again for watching, listening to all this. See you soon.